And welcome back to The Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media and everyone that's lying to you every single day, all the time. This is where we explore the truth. Sometimes it hurts. Today it's going to hurt a little bit. Got to be honest with you. My name is Jake Duesenberg, your host. Joining me today, part of the Political Junkies, is Mega Jesse. How you doing there, Mega Jesse?
You know, doing good. I think we got a lot to expose with this Antifa. Keith Ellison, of course, he's one of the people who's destroyed Minnesota, and they're targeting us. Big surprise.
Big shocker, exactly. Not in studio today is William Beck, who's probably watching from afar. He's in the field. He does a lot of different stuff. He's got his own company, so I can't control that, but he's a real patriot, so we miss William. Running the dials, as usual, is Deep State Dawson. So anytime you wonder if this is just a covert operation, well, it kind of could be true. I mean, look at this guy. What's he doing here? Speaking of which, in Israel right now is Bridget Williams. So reading your comments today will be Jesse. It's a two-man show with Dawson piping in every once in a while. Although when we were doing the pre-show, you were like really engaged in the conversation. So I'm kind of hoping we could do the pre-show again, bring that kind of level of expectations, so to speak. Because this is like, we usually have like a show, we read a lot of the articles and stuff like that. We're not going to really go, I was going to say on script. That sounds terrible. We're never on script.
Right.
That's the wildness of the show. It's like literally live. But we do have a format. We have show notes, try to like keep on to things that we want to talk about. Today, we're just really going to try to free flow this. I hope you guys like it. So let us know where you're watching from, all the regulars. I'm sure you guys are there. I'm sure Tucker's there, K-Wall, T-Wall, all the greats. Nader, who am I missing?
Base Minnesota says hello.
At Base Minnesota, I say hello right back to you. If you want a comment read, for sure, make sure you do a Rumble rant. We'll definitely read that live on air. Otherwise, we'll try to get to many of your comments otherwise. So starting off, my lawyers send me this, and that is a letter or a memorandum. Let's see. Yeah, memorandum from the Attorney General, Keith Ellison himself. Keith Ellison, now on top of the CFB, acting on behalf of the CFB, Campaign Finance Board, which is on a total witch hunt. And I just got to say this here. You know, you always wonder, like, have you done something wrong inadvertently? Like everyone, they say, show me the man, I'll show you the crime, right? So you never know if you inadvertently did something wrong. We had a guy on the show, was that 2 weeks ago, who apparently got arrested, or they're trying to prosecute him for felonies about not having serial numbers on his firearm. And there were guns that he made, and he thought he was doing everything right. So, I just generally think what we're doing is always following the law, right? But you never know, because these guys, they literally have obscure laws, right? And that's part of the reason you think they do witch hunts. But anyhow, from the allegations they make, these false complaints against us, we know we're innocent of those charges, and it doesn't matter here, right? Because they've already made up their minds. And quite frankly, I don't know if they think they're going to prosecute us on anything. That might be the wrong term. Fine us, whatever it is. I think they just want to make things painful for us, right?
They want to tie people up, especially us, because we're the people on the front lines leading the freedom movement in Minnesota, because we're the ones holding the politicians accountable on both sides, on the Republican and Democrat. So, yeah, of course, they want to tie us up legally. They want to waste our time on a bunch of nonsense, on a bunch of witch hunts. We've got that in common with Donald Trump. They're always trying to go after him. They're always trying to go after us, because we're the ones who are fighting. If we're against the deep state is against us. So that's why Keith Ellison's after us. It's no surprise.
Now I'm always afraid to use the term deep state, like when it comes to Minnesota, because I just don't really feel like it's that deep here. This is just more on the surface political text. I could be completely wrong on this thing. And deep state's laughing at it, like, oh, they don't even know it's us,
Right. Well, I just define the deep state as like undercover government. It's people underneath, it's the bureaucrats, it's the people who are really pulling the strings within our government. So the
and you think that's down to the state level?
Oh, of course,
What about like city level? Do you consider that deep state?
I mean, there could be deep state in, at even the smallest levels, because corruption is everywhere. So anybody who is doing anything that is behind the smoke screen, anybody that is doing something behind the curtain that we the people do not get to know about, that's a form of deep state.
Give me an example of someone in Minnesota's governmental structure that's deep state.
Okay, well, probably if we looked at the Health and Human Services Department, I'm sure that we could find all kinds of things
Oh, you literally just changed my mind right on the spot.
Yeah.
Right there. Good point.
Right, because we know that Planned Parenthood is selling baby body parts. We know that all of these things are going on, and these things don't just happen. It happens because there's people within government who allow it to happen, and it's not necessarily the elected officials that are doing it. It's the people within the government.
Yeah, think about COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just for some reason, maybe you guys think differently at home. Let us know. But I always feel like it's the deep state's kind of referring to the federal government, right? Because, deeper pockets, like more influence and structure and more corrupt at that level. But, yeah, I mean, you just look at state levels during COVID. The Department of Health, great point. Targeting our businesses.
Right, now that we have this, there's this database for hate speech, right? That they're going to be doing this. That is a form of deep state. So when we look at, all forms of government and, within our state government, I absolutely think there's a deep state, and those are the deep state people we need to even be more fearful of because they're within our state. They're even more tied to, more likely to get after us. So, yeah, I think it's, within every level of government, there's corruption, and every level is deep state.
Okay, I'm just maybe not as comfortable using the term right now, but I'm going to use it anyhow because I think you've made a great point. You've actually pulled me that way. Deep state after us here in Minnesota. It's very clear. It's like we've done nothing wrong. They're way outside of their purview. I would argue, and we'll see how our lawyers argue in court, but they don't even have the jurisdiction to what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But essentially, when the Campaign Finance Board, and in case you don't know anything about this, they're just Governor Walz and Mark Dayton appointees. I think most of them are Governor Walz appointees at this point. Mm-hmm. And they appoint some from the Republicans and some from the Democrats. It's bipartisan. Well, guess what? They both hate us because we call them out all the time. And the show is not called Republicans Great, Democrats Bad. This is called The Truth Hurts. Right. And guess what? RINO Republican establishment is just as bad as the Democrat establishment.
Right,
They're like the same people.
Mm-hmm. The Campaign Finance Board, it shouldn't even be bipartisan. It should be nonpartisan.
Right.
We shouldn't even have these corrupt political duopoly parties in control of our campaign finance because what are they going to do? They're going to do the bidding of the political parties, and it benefits both political parties to come after us.
I could have made that argument better than myself. Like, that's right. There's no bigger target to both political parties in the state than us.
Right.
We're the only ones calling them out. Because, that's what happened to the Tea Party, in case you don't know. The Tea Party got co-opted by the Republican Party. They're like, hey, you guys are so great. We love the Constitution, too. This is so wonderful. And we're for limited government because we said so on your stage.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wait, we got to get rid of these Democrats. It's the big con in politics is when you go after like a Republican, they go, listen, the Democrats are the ones that we really need to get rid of. You don't want the Democrats to win. And, of course, none of us do, right? So they go, so I need your help. Otherwise, the Democrats will be in support. You're like, oh, okay, we got to help them out. So what do? You go help the Republican. Then sooner or later you realize, wait a second, they're not doing what I asked them to do, and now I'm doing their work. I'm working just for their objective, which is to get reelected.
Yep.
That's the big con in politics. This is The Truth Hurts, by the way. The truth hurts. You're getting conned. Now, a lot of you guys have woken up. That's why they never raise money in the grassroots. They're terrible. They can't raise any grassroots money. You guys support groups like us because we're fighting for you. And they're not. Okay, so
we got some comments here too.
Oh, yeah, let's go to the
Napkinator at the beginning said, anybody else having issues? So I know, Jake, you had said that there was a new update on Rumble, right? That videos were automatically playing. I'm not sure if that had something to do with it, but it sounds like there were maybe some issues at the beginning, but
are we good to go? Are people?
Yeah, Tucker says no problem on my end, and Bad Hat Harry says no issues as well. So
thank God, because I don't want to redo that bit. That was fun.
Right?
We're right on to it.
And then Base Minnesota says, good point, Jake. I look at it like the IRS. If they really want to find something, they will audit it to find it.
Well, that's a great, interesting point right there. So, I was bringing this example up yesterday to lawyers. It's like the CFB essentially is like in many regards like the IRS. We could just basically audit. We could look at your organization. It's like we never give you authority. The IRS just seems to have like as much authority as possible until it's Hunter Biden. Then they don't have any authority. We can't go after that. There's breaking news right now, and I didn't get into it, but apparently they've got some more revelations on the Hunter Biden story today.
Yeah, and Tucker says there's always a deep state in the TC. I'm not sure what you mean by TC.
Don't interrupt me. I was onto something there,
My
Jesse.
bad.
I might lose my point now. God, I'm getting older, so shit, where was I going with this thing? You asshole. I can't believe you just did that. Tucker, that's how much we love you. You just interrupted me to get your point out there.
Well, there's a few more. I just want to finish it up.
No, let me finish this IRS. The IRS. Well, there's no point in just reading people's comments if we're not going to comment back.
Yeah, of course.
We love our audience. Jeez, Jesse. We need William.
Yeah.
We need William or Bridget. Yep, there you go. There's William. Doesn't want to show up today. So it's like the IRS is going to audit your taxes. You're like, all right, here we go. They're going to audit my taxes. The first question out of their mouth is, what kind of toothpaste did you use to brush your teeth in the morning? What does that have to do with my taxes, right? And that's what's happening to us is they're asking questions that are not in pursuit of the truth. And they have no reason. They have a reason, the secret, nefarious reason, because they want to learn more about organizations like us and possibly find us violating something else. That's their intent. It's just a witch hunt. But really what they're doing is they're not pursuing the truth at all, okay? And so now we got Keith Ellison, because when the CFB wants to enforce something and they have no enforcement tool, and by the way, we've never pledged this government agency that we want to be ruled by them in the first place. That's the other thing. Like, if you're a candidate, you run for office, you do, but not us. We're free people. You have no authority over us. You know, where did this come from? We never registered with you to do this. So yeah, they're way asserting that. And so to take us to court, they use Keith Ellison. Yep. And this is all from the RINO Establishment. False complaints by Mike Campbell, the sick Republican establishment in the Senate Victory Fund. Sorry, when I say Senate Victory Fund, that's like wishful thinking optimism, because they actually lost. So there's no victory. But the Republicans running the Senate, they call it the Senate Victory Fund, they're the ones behind this attack. Mike Campbell in particular, the finance director. Cronies. Sorry, let's go back to comments.
All right. Let's see. Bad Hat Harry says the deep state is all the way down to the school boards. Napkinator says he refreshed the page. He's all good to go. Tucker says Walls is a deep state actor. Bad Hat Harry, deep state equals bureaucrats.
Well,
that's my point, too.
Yeah, let's talk about Walls. And, of course, you'd have to look at Walls in some regard as connected to deep state because of two big things. First of all, he just took the talking points of COVID and implemented them, right? Like, literally took them, Fauci's mouth, implemented them to the ground, okay? Number two, and a lot of the Democrat governors did this. Number two, why on earth did he do that World Economic Forum resolution in 2010?
Right,
like
yeah, something like that, where
that is so
he
bizarre.
was praising Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and everything that they're up to and saying that they have a great mission and purpose, and it's nuts. You know, I can't believe that Tim Walz was behind it, but it makes perfect sense for how he's been governor.
Yeah, and you always like to make his connections to like teaching in China and stuff like that. I don't know. I kind of just
he was there during the Tiananmen Square.
Yeah,
I mean that's a pretty, you know, I imagine it's a life shaping moment, you know, to be there during that time, and for him to, you know, come out of that as even more pro China. You know, it just goes to show the kind of guy that Walz is. He's a communist.
Well, he's certainly a tyrant wannabe because that's how he governed when we had COVID. You know, basically, I could just take over Minnesota's government. I could throw Lisa Hansen in jail for opening up her little coffee bistro. Lisa Hansen, what's her great crime to society? She sold some coffee.
Yep.
Oh, got to throw her in jail. Grandmother. And over Christmas, too, by the way.
I've actually got a quick question.
Yeah.
What's the definition of deep state? What does it mean to be deep state?
I think that's generally the way people define it.
Yeah, bureaucratic.
Like like under the public facing apparatus that we see, there is this bureaucracy, and it almost doesn't change depending on who's in charge, clearly, because right when Trump's in charge, there's still a deep state. But see, the reason I hesitate, because it gets really bad out in D.C., part of the deep state, and maybe the biggest muscle behind the deep state, in my opinion, is the CIA, which we don't have something like that, at least that I understand. Because the CIA is so crazy, they sell drugs, so they have their own budget. They sell drugs, probably sell firearms. You know, they do a lot of legal activity to raise money, and so they have this budget that even Congress doesn't know of, right? So that's like as deep state as it gets. It's like this own entity with perfect cover by our government that can operate. You know, I also go back to like Jeffrey Epstein. Like Jeffrey Epstein kept getting off. Like he was trying to be prosecuted at lower levels way before, like almost a decade ago, and he got off. So there's someone protecting. Actually, here's another one.
Yeah, in 2006, I think it was.
I was listening to the guy you don't like, Bill Barr, talking about Trump. Now, when I listen to Bill Barr, it sounds like a very reasoned man, smart, all that kind of stuff. And of course, he just thinks Trump is in real trouble. And of course, when you read the charging documents on Trump, it sounds terrible. And if you tune in the media, Trump is guilty already, right? Okay. There's another side of the story, by the way. The deep state really wants to get rid of Trump. But, I think of like Bill Barr and I hear him, I'm like, this guy's very credible. And then I think this is also the same guy that presided over the federal prison system, and somehow Jeffrey Epstein's murdered in the prison system he's overseeing, and he never finds out how that happened.
Yeah, no,
Like,
exactly.
all of a sudden the guards are sleeping and the cameras go off. Come on. So Bill Barr is clearly compromised at this point, right? Like,
I mean, every
it's so clearly
and that's
compromised.
just one issue. I mean, think about every single judicial issue that was happening during the time that he was Attorney General. And also, I mean, on top of it, he was George H.W. Bush's Attorney General before, too. So this guy's a Bush acolyte, can't be trusted. And I found a good definition of the deep state. A network of people and organizations within government that is believed to pursue its own policies and long-term plans independently of who is in power. And I think that's a perfect definition because, it is people, bureaucrats within the government that pursue their own mission, regardless of who's in power, like it says. And, it's one of those things that the bureaucracy is always there, regardless of who the president is, regardless of who the governor is. And, just considering that the mission needs to be to drain the swamp, the mission needs to be to remove the deep state. Otherwise, they're going to continue to control our country instead of we the people.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that bothers me about this whole game is like we're the patriots. We're like the true Americans here. And these people, they're terrible. They're terrible human beings. I just thought of two great examples inside of our own military ranks. Now, I'm a 12-year Army veteran. Like, I love the military. I still know a lot of people that serve in the military. Most people in the military are great individuals. But you get up to those higher ranks, or certainly the infrastructure around those higher ranks, and you get some real corruption. And there's two really good examples. Our military officials lied to Donald Trump about numbers in Syria. That's pretty documented at this point.
Yeah.
You knew about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lied to the president about troops in Syria. You know what else they lied about? They lied to JFK. This goes back to the prior to the Bay of Pigs invasion. No, I'm sorry, not Bay of Pig invasions. They lied to him about that too. Vietnam. They lied to him about the numbers of troops in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Like JFK wanted like a small force over there, and then basically wanted to pull them out. And they were lying to the president about the amount of troops in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So they've corrupted the highest institutes, and that one's easy to understand. And we all know the story in COVID, how many people are lying through their teeth on that. I mean, still, I don't think anyone's holding out hope that what's that little weasel, Anthony Fauci, will ever be held accountable for the sins he's committed against this nation and this world, right? Because there's blood on that guy's hands. But, there's a huge bureaucracy inside of the scientific community that's attached to the pharmaceutical industry. But the military-industrial complex is so obvious to understand. War is good for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got to make those bombs. Someone's got to create those jets. Someone's got to create the newest technology. Someone's got to create the weapons. And so there's big money in it. And so they want to perpetuate this idea that there's a need for war. And they lie all the time about this stuff.
Right, and if Fauci wasn't actually involved in the Wuhan lab and everything, creating this virus, allowing it to leak, if he wasn't involved, he would have been on the front lines exposing that it came from the Wuhan lab. He would have said, my hands are clean. I have nothing to do with this. He would have been for the investigations into the Wuhan lab. Since Fauci is trying to cover it up, even still to this day, since he's trying to cover it up, I mean, that's almost an admission of guilt to us because we can see, okay, you're covering up this entire thing. We know what you're up to, and you were the one who was, funding all these projects in China, and then all of a sudden, a virus leaks from the Wuhan lab where you're studying things. It's pretty nuts, and, all you got to do is follow the money between him and Peter Daszak from England, Eco Health Alliance, the entire situation. We know that Fauci was on board with this thing, and who knows if it was intentional or not. I don't want to say because I'm sure we'll get kicked off of YouTube if I say what I think, but,
you can say what you think.
It was intentional.
Yeah, I don't care if we get
It was intentional.
Yeah, I don't give a strike. I don't care if we get a strike from YouTube. I literally don't care at this point. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Rumble's been a good home for us, so
Yep.
we'll say what we want to say and not be censored.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got some more comments here.
You are on fire today.
Thank you.
Because I had never thought of that. You're right. If Fauci literally had nothing to do with it, wouldn't he be leading the charge in how this thing originated?
Mm-hmm. And he would be blaming China. He'd say, none of this is my fault. Look, they're trying to blame me. Fauci would have been our hero.
Yeah.
He could have been, in an alternate reality.
Yeah, exactly. He would want to get to... All he's basically said at this point is, it looks like it's a natural leak from, the wet market. But yeah, that's like... he would be motivated to go find this source. And that's
Yep.
a great travesty coming out of one of the great travesties coming out of COVID is there's no appetite by the mainstream media and the collective people, although I sometimes say it's the media's fault here, to actually go explore exactly what caused 6 million people to die around the world.
Yep.
And all fingers are pointing towards the Wuhan lab. All right, let's read some comments.
All right, on Facebook, Shelly Tripp said, it's swampy here, referring to Minnesota, and that's, of course, true.
Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, we definitely agree with that.
Yep. Tucker says Walls' position are based on what the DNC tells him. William Beck's in the comments on Rumble. He says, sorry I couldn't be there today. See you all live on Thursday.
You know, and I think William's joining us for the Twitter Spaces afterwards. So, do you have that link? I'll have to send that link.
I don't have the link.
Well, just go to our Twitter. Pull up the handle there, Dawson. So it's action_liberty. So go to our Twitter account. You'll see the Twitter Spaces. That'll be live at 2:30. We'll do a recap of the show today. So action_liberty, the best Twitter page in Minnesota. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to say, well, is it the best one? There's some really good ones out there. You know, in fact, that's sometimes how we get our stories. You know, people send stuff to us on Twitter.
Yep.
There was a really good one that got taken down or just disappeared all of a sudden. But it's a damn good Twitter account. Go follow us on Twitter, please.
Yep.
It's great.
Well, and Tucker, he said, William couldn't face the music with DeSantis dropping like a rock in the polls. Ha, see you Thursday.
And I got to admit, you're on fire today. It's kind of like, is William the one bringing us down? I don't know. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I don't know, but, you know, it is true that, you know, DeSantis is dropping like a rock. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. And, you know, I told you a couple of days ago, I've kind of quit being concerned with Ron DeSantis altogether. I'm not even threatened. You know, in the beginning, I thought, oh, man, this could get competitive. Let's see what happens. Now, there's nothing to worry about at all. I mean, he's you know, just doing all these photo ops. He looks like you know, he's just a propagandist of Fox News now. Fox News is trying to prop him up. Unfortunately for Fox News, that's not how it works. He can't just tell us who to vote for. He can't tell us what to think. And, you know, Fox News is down 37% in viewership. Boo-hoo for them. People don't watch the mainstream media anymore because we don't trust them and we want Trump.
Yeah, they're dropping like college enrollment and universities.
Yep, and you know, I was thinking if Ron DeSantis people really wanted to do something important, maybe they should go and try and help RFK Jr. because DeSantis ain't winning. And considering that they're both kind of going for the same type of voter, the same medical freedom movement,
right.
If these Ron DeSantis people really want to do something, you better go help out RFK Jr. because it's going to be Trump whether we like it or not. So that's just my opinion. I think that DeSantis people are better off using their energy elsewhere than with Ron DeSantis because why help a guy that's going to lose?
I mean, honestly, I think you're putting the horse before the cart on this, or the cart before the horse. Good God. Of course, horse before the cart. I get made fun of all the time because my colloquialisms are way off all the time. I always get things mixed up. Yeah. Oh, you make fun of me too there, Dawson?
Well,
how dare him.
I just wanted to say, Jesse, don't bag too hard on William's guy because he's not here to defend him.
Yeah, that's not going to stop him.
It's true.
By the way,
I'm starting to think William's an RFK Jr. guy. You might agree with me. Who knows? You know?
I do like how Dawson's like, oh, hey, what's deep state mean? I don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, here, let's see. We got a few more comments here. So Bad Hat Harry says the Metropolitan Council is a perfect example of deep state.
Yeah, good point. With like taxing authority too, which is crazy.
Yep. Patriot Carlin Ellison says she's wishing William well. Razzle Dazzle says Jesse knows. Tucker says one of Ron's major donors has ties to the CCP, the Communist China Party. So I already knew about that too. So it's good to know that Tucker's on top of it as well because there's a lot to say about the Chinese connections between the DeSantis campaign. Let's see, Razzle Dazzle's Tucker and MAGA Jesse are joined at the hip. You know, on Truth Social, we are Minnesota Patriots for Trump. You can chat with us all there. And let's see, Jobo He says horse belongs before the cart. So they're on top of it.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me sometimes. So I was bringing this up about our fight. You know, now we'll have to go up against Keith Ellison. Actually, when it's henchmen in courts, you know.
Yeah.
And you know that's what that's their whole point is they want to create pain to us because we challenge their authority. You know, I mean, this gets launched by the right, the Republican establishment, these cronies in the Senate Victory Fund. So your Senate Republicans, they're the ones behind it. Good for them. Because, Action for Liberty is very powerful. We activate a lot of activists across the state of Minnesota. That's a challenge to their power. When they vote out of step, you guys are calling them. You're contacting these people and telling them, vote the right way. They don't like that. They don't like being told from you. They like being told by the pharmaceutical companies and the crony special interests. They don't mind being told because they wine and dine them and they deliver money to their PACs. So, yeah, that's how the whole game is played. So they want to make this thing painful for us. They also kind of hope maybe we just go away. Maybe this is, quite frankly, Jake, what the hell are you doing this for? You got lots of other things going on in your life. You got a great life, right? You got an excellent life. You got great interests, lots of hobbies, other business ventures. Why are you doing this, right? It's actually a question, I ask myself sometimes.
Yep.
Not because of these assholes. That actually makes me want, it's having the opposite effect on me. It makes me want to fight them harder. Because there's other times where I'm just like, I don't know, do I want to still be in politics? Because it does take away time from some other things. I got some really cool things in the works right now outside of politics. And that's possible. And sometimes it's this kind of work that gets people out of it. Now, they don't know their enemy here. They don't know MAGA Jesse. They don't know me. They don't know our board. This empowers us. This makes us more motivated to show people what's right. I also am motivated to stay in politics because I don't think we got a really good future here. I think there's going to be some economic catastrophe. I think it's going to rival like the Great Depression. And so we're going to go through that moment in our history, and we better have patriots engaged in the political process, funded, equipped with the institutional knowledge. That's the other thing. If we leave, there'll be some other pro-liberty group. Maybe it takes 10 years to start up, but then they got to start from scratch. I made all my mistakes in politics. We're going on 10 years. 10 years this July 4th. We started July 4th of 2013. What a great day to start an organization, a patriotic organization. And so, we made all the mistakes in the world in politics. You have to learn. So this would be huge. If they remove Action for Liberty from Minnesota, and quite frankly, we're beyond Minnesota now, then just imagine that void it leaves. And that's what they want. They want that void because all they care about is their power. And so that's why they're at this thing. And now they're joining hands with Keith Ellison, the guy they're really against, right? They're not really against these people.
Didn't they increase the Attorney General's budget? I kind of remember
we called them out for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's during COVID. While the Attorney General's going after our brave businessmen,
including Lisa Hansen.
Yes, including Lisa Hansen. Actually, in Lisa Hansen's case, the AG, I think, just supported local prosecutors because Lisa she had this word. The Albert Lee attorney just hated her guts.
Yeah.
So she took on this case. Every other case, I believe, the Attorney General was the one in court. So, but yeah, certainly they were supporting the city attorney.
Yep.
But they're joining hands. I mean, this idea that they're all against each other, it's so stupid, But we're like small potatoes in this thing. You get to a larger stage, and I know you want to talk about Alex Jones today, which I'm fair, because I was just watching. I got about halfway through the Alex Jones interview on Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
Which is really
a great
good.
interview.
Well, he's a great interviewer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Patrick Bet-David is one of the best as far as, good conversation, professionalism, but also having fun. He's one of the best interviewers on the planet right now.
And don't you love how it's like Joe Rogan, not like necessarily comes from a political ideology. It's easy when you get like someone like us. You're like, oh, they're from the right,
Yeah.
They're actually coming at it maybe from other interests. I think Patrick Bet-David from business interests.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan actually came from the comedy route, and of course, I think what got him so involved in politics in the end was the cancel culture and attacks on free speech.
Yeah, and Patrick Bet-David, he's got all kinds of interesting people on there. A guy who used to be a liberal that's now a conservative, and all kinds of people that have different ideas and different preferences. Some for DeSantis, some for Trump. It's always good discussion, and sometimes they have great debates on there too. They, they're not afraid to challenge each other and really get to the heart of each matter. So it's good stuff, especially the Alex Jones interview. We got some more comments here too. So Sturgis SD, I imagine that's South Dakota. Sturgis SD says, if you can't see that Minnesota is ground zero for the deep state, you're asleep. And Tucker says the coasts are actually the ground zero. They've just gotten so bad, and they've infected other states, specifically the West and Northeast. And then it looks like...
What did he say?
He was saying the West and Northeast are the breeding grounds for the deep state.
Oh, okay. Well, those two comments, those are interesting points, is that, I still think of the deep state as some entity out in Washington, D.C., but of course, not all federal bureaucracy is in D.C. They also permeate into the states, right?
Right. I
So
mean, there's all
I
the
think
districts of the Federal Reserve. There's I can't remember. Was it 9 of them?
I can't help it, but Jesse keeps making
I'm on
great
it
points
today.
today. I mean, the Minneapolis branch of the Federal Reserve. There's 13 different branches, and one of them's in Minneapolis. A fair point.
Yep.
Because the Federal Reserve is deep state as they get. You guys, we should do a whole show on the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Like this quasi-federal banking system. I was listening. Peter Schiff, I haven't followed him too much in the last couple of years, but certainly you got to be an idiot if you didn't listen to guys like him after the banking collapse in 2008, the housing market crash, because he was one of the guys that predicted it. So you got to listen to guys that predict it, right?
Yep.
And anyhow, he's on Peter Schiff, and he was talking about quantitative easing. And we just don't talk about that term too much, and most people don't have any understanding of what that is. But the Federal Reserve literally creates digital money. I mean, we always say print money. They're not really even printing the money. You only print the money when you actually need it for consumer activity. They're just creating money out of thin air, like another zero on a balance sheet, and then they buy a government debt. They're literally stealing from you and me. And they're so corrupt, they're getting an interest rate. They're getting a rate of return. So they drive down interest rates. They can get like 2%, which is like not a lot of money, but it's all profit when you just create the money out of nothing, right? So if you're getting 2% on $1 trillion, well, that's $2 billion you just got from nothing. That's a hell of an investment. So this is that's like the Federal Reserve, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex. They're all kind of intertwined, so I don't want to like say which one's worse, which one's the best, it's like they're all so bad. But of course, none of this would work if we didn't have a Federal Reserve.
Right.
Because there is no endless war. The whole gig here is that the government, which has zero money, they have to tax it from us. They can only raise taxes so much before we revolt, right? And so they got this really complicated, crazy system. And in some cases, if you're the president's son, you don't actually have to pay the taxes. Most of us do, but he doesn't have to pay it. I put on Twitter the other day, I go, we'll pay our fair share once Hunter Biden pays his fair share.
Right.
So what they do is, instead of taxing, they tax indirectly by cutting the value of your money. So they need the Federal Reserve to just print this money and create, because we haven't balanced a budget, which means all the revenue from taxes minus the expenses, in which that should be zero. It should be zero, or a positive, which would be a surplus. We haven't done that. It's been a deficit since 2001, which was only 1 year. Like basically we were running a small surplus in the Clinton's era. So it's all been deficits, and it's been massive deficits. That's why we have $32 trillion in debt. None of those things would have worked if it wasn't for the printing press. I say none of that. I guess, yeah, none of it would work, because how are they buying up all those COVID vaccines if they didn't print money for it, right?
Yep.
So pharmaceutical companies need the Federal Reserve. And then if you understand how inflation works, the people that are most screwed are the last people to hold on to that money. So the first people to get the money, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical companies, the first people to get all that money are the benefactors, because prices are still stable. So they start spending the money, and then more money churns in the economy and prices go up. But they already bought this new stuff with that newly created money at a cheaper price. We're the ones that get screwed in the end. Sorry, I could go on and on that. You want to talk about Alex Jones.
Yeah, well, here, let's go through some of these comments here, because we got some, looks like some breaking news here in the comments here. Patriot Carlin Ellison says, I hear you, Jake. I am sitting on the fence to run for a House seat. Well, let me tell you what, Carlin Ellison, that would be very exciting to see.
So we would have to say, well, tell us, I guess I don't want her to say where she's from. Reach out to me. I am curious where you're thinking, Carlin Nelson. Jake at action4liberty.com. Jake at action, the number 4liberty.com. I'm kind of interested where that is. But we're going to have to start saying the Patriot representative, Carla Nelson.
Yeah, I
so
guess
we
so.
don't get it mixed up with the non-patriotic state senator, Carla Nelson. That'll be... But that's so awesome to hear that. And by the way, Carla, I want to stick on that for a second. This is exactly why they are coming after us. What you just saw here. Because we put out the truth. We tell people how things are going. And you guys are wonderful, great people. And you hear this message. You go, I want to run for office. I want to make a difference. And I don't know Carla Nelson. I don't think we met Carla. But
yeah, she was at our Christmas event this last time. So
I know who Carla Nelson is. I'm an idiot. And now I know where you're from. Okay. Dumb moment there. Yes. Carla is a patriot.
Yep.
Okay, so assume that's the same Carla Nelson.
Yeah,
apparently
I'd
there are already
imagine.
2 Carla Nelsons in this state.
Right.
This is what they fear so much right now, is when you go out there, when we build this big movement and we tell the truth, people like her want to run for office. And they might challenge a sitting Republican. And so it's a threat to their power grasp.
Yep.
And so the only way to stop, because would Carla have done, I don't know if Carla would have done this if she wasn't listening to our show. She's a big listener. She maybe reads our emails. This is why they want to silence us. This is why they want to get rid of us right here. And their weaponized government agency will have to call them the deep state now, Campaign Finance Board, and now they got Keith Ellison, and these guys want to end us. That's their whole point.
Yeah, we the people need to take back our government and take it back from the deep state that is obviously being used to target people like us and target our freedom. So Brad Ganser, he says, never give up in reference to, against all these witch hunts that we're up against. And don't worry, Brad, we're not going to. Let's see. Tucker says, you learn best by making mistakes. This is why I'm pushing to create a new state that excludes the metro area. Join our movement to create the new state of Greater Minnesota.
So down with that.
Yep.
So down with that.
Let's see. Tucker also says, fun fact, Minnesota means cloudy water. Seems fitting to describe our current government. And Brad Gander says he will donate to the good Carla. And let's see. Yeah, Carla Nelson says, been to some of the trainings. And thanks, Brad. And let's see. We also got some Rocks and Cows comments here on Facebook, too. So.
And by the way, this is problematic. So problematic, because now you saw someone say, I might run for office, and then you get another listener who goes, I might donate to that person.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, this is clear something that's got to be shut down. This is too much freedom, too many people resisting the power structure.
Yeah, people are surprised what we the people can do on our own. And so Rocks and Cows says, Sturgis SD is 100% correct. The Minneapolis DFL is the A4L of the National Progressive Movement, and it is either leading by example or it is coordination with others. Minnesota is in a leadership position, and they are setting up for either a Tim Walz presidential run or something else big. Nobody else in the swamp exerts this much effort without a power or monetary return. And why is the MNGOP in bed with the DFL? What is all the kickbacks that justifies that?
Well, I mean, it's the like-minded people protecting their own against an outside enemy. I mean, it's so obvious this is happening. They vote for the bonding bills together. They vote for the crony capitalism bills. They vote for omnibus bills. We've broken many of those stories. So, there's this perception they're really against each other is bullshit. I mean, these guys are buddy-buddy with all of them, right? They all buddy-buddy. They go to the same parties. They snort the same coke as these guys. We got stories, by the way. These guys are all in the same party. We're outside the party, and once they're threatened, because generally speaking, what politicians do is when you initially go against them, they ignore you. They're like, oh, whatever, go away, Pez. One of the greatest tricks in politics by these assholes is they use this diversion technique. You guys have probably seen this before. If you've ever gone up against a politician and chewed them out publicly or anything, one of the first things they do is they go, listen, we need to, one thing they'll say is, this is not the time or place. Maybe they didn't say that, but maybe they did, because I'm sure you guys have heard that one. This isn't the time or place. I would like to have a meeting with you in my office so I can hear your concerns. You'll hear that one. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard that one. Why do they do that? Because they don't want this damaged image in front of a bunch of people. So let me get you to the office where I can literally not care at all what you have to say, but I'll let you voice your frustration in the privacy of a room, not in front of anyone. That's why they do it. So never take that bait. A meeting with a politician's useless. shame them, ridicule them in public.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact I told you that, and this is the cold hard truth, is exactly why they're coming after us. Now, we're going to leave comments here because we've broken a streak. We've had Rumble Rants on every episode for like 2 months now. We haven't had a single Rumble Rant. So if you want to get your comment read in the next 10, 20 minutes, you better click on that Rumble Rant and send at least $10, all right? That's the new rule for the next 10 minutes. Don't want to break our streak, all right? Yeah. And with that being said, Jesse, you want to talk about Alex Jones. Because there's a guy that's been targeted by the deep state.
Oh, of course. And he's been one of the people exposing the deep state and all these corrupt politicians in the lying corporate media, just like we do. And one of the biggest events that, perpetrate onto the American people that we were lied to about, that we were told to believe one thing when, other things were true. And we were told to believe that it was just terrorists, but it was really our government, was 9/11. And 9/11 was, of course, one of the most important days in our history as a country because, that was a time where, a lot of people by choice were giving up their freedom in support of a false sense of security. Everybody knows what happened on 9/11, but there's very few people who were able to put the pieces together, especially before it happened. But one of the people who was able to put all the pieces together was Alex Jones. And I pulled up a video here. This was on July 25th, 2001, a month and a half before 9/11, where Alex Jones predicted 9/11, Osama bin Laden, and all of the other corrupt actors involved. Let's go ahead and check this bad boy out.
Again, I was on television saying that bin Laden's a CIA asset and looks like he'll attack New York. Saying, call Washington, tell them to call off the attack.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had, and that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite, he's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. I want the White House numbers up there now. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet.
Wow.
I'm calling it Operation Expose the Government Terror.
Yep. So there he goes. He pointed out, I don't know how much more clearer he could have said it. The CIA, Osama bin Laden, World Trade Center. To say all of that a month and a half before the attacks took place, it shows that he was on top of it, shows that he was tracking all the information, and nobody was talking about Osama bin Laden until that day. And, there's a couple different ways we could view 9/11. There's two main theories of if you want to say the government was involved in some way, either that Osama bin Laden was a rogue actor, or that, the government was also involved in helping Osama bin Laden and some of these people. When you look at when you look at what Osama had to say, following 9/11, he took credit for it, as most terrorists do. ISIS, for example, they take credit for things that they don't actually do just because they want, to have the credit for it. I imagine it was a coordinated effort between CIA, Deep State, and Osama bin Laden. There's lots of possibilities of what could have really happened on that day. and the lead up to it. But I think that, I don't care if it's, 22 years later, I still want the truth. I don't care if it's 22 years too late, I still want the truth. And it's just amazing that, Alex Jones was calling it out all that time ago.
Credibility. One of the things that bothered me, living through as a financial professional at the time through the Great Recession, right? So after the housing market crash, is that the first thing everyone should have done is look for the people that called it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there were people that made the calls. There's a movie about The Big Short where someone actually shorted subprime mortgages because they saw this as a potential profit center, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good call on their part. But I mean, there are people that, not for necessarily individual profiting reasons, called why it happened. That gives them credibility. You got to listen to those people. Well, here's a guy that called it, right?
Yeah.
What does he know?
Mm-hmm.
Because Alex is always getting put in this bucket of like conspiracy theorists as if that makes him wrong. And the guy's right more than he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the beauty of the alternative media. Okay. So we actually get to hear a guy like Alex Jones on Joe Rogan's podcast, which is the largest audience out there. Patrick Bet-David, growing audience. I think he's on Crowder almost every week, it seems like.
Quite a bit.
Some of the other comedians are having him on their shows. So he's getting this big audience, even though the traditional media has basically got rid of him. He can't even share his link to bandvideo.com or whatever that is.
Yeah, band.video.
Or band.video, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. This is a guy that's got a lot of credibility, and once again, a guy that literally the deep state's trying to take out at this point,
Right.
And I think it's more the sins of, being somewhat supportive of Trump's run in 2006.
Right. Yeah, some people say that, he made Trump, and, it obviously had a big influence for, someone who has millions of people listening to him every day on the radio, and especially at that time before he really got canceled, there were tons of people watching and listening to Alex Jones. He had a lot of sway over people, and definitely had some influence. But we do have some Rumble rants now.
Oh, there we
go.
go.
Razzles Dazzle says he gave $5, says Minnesota revenue still has the other $5.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, get us on that. There's another way to suppress us is take our money, take it right out of our wallets. Like, just imagine the tax system if they didn't just automatically take money out, or you had to determine how much you had to pay and then send them a check.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the difference of our society if we didn't have the income tax.
Right.
Completely
and then
unconstitutional.
Tucker also gives $5 and says Razzles beat me to it, but we're keeping the streak alive. And Tucker also said, how many Alex Jones was right jars have been filled now?
Well, that's the point. And
exactly.
It's like all of us were conspiracy theorists during COVID. I've been saying this to people lately. Did we get anything wrong in COVID? Right?
Yeah, not really.
I mean,
we said masks don't work. They don't.
And then, of course, we were just following Fauci's words on that one,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like he was being honest on that one.
Yeah.
And then when Mike Osterholm literally told Joe Rogan on his podcast that masks don't work, it should have been like a big story. These liars have been pushing this stuff, and no one cares,
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing that bugs me is it was like no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
That's actually when we grew. Like, Action for Liberty has been around, I said 10 years, but we weren't really a threat to the political establishment until COVID. Then we were a threat. We were a threat to the Democrats, because remember, the Democrats actually had a erroneous campaign finance complaint against us too. Back then, the CFP apparently didn't have us in the crosshairs. Maybe that's because they didn't have enough Walz-appointed people on the board at that point.
Yeah.
Because they're probably still the Dayton appointees. But that was a completely erroneous campaign finance board. They didn't investigate that when they did the preliminary look, found that was not warranting of anything. Now it's just they're so highly politicized and going up against us. But then the Republicans hate us because all of a sudden we got you guys all activated. You go to caucuses and they're like, holy crap, they just took over the Republican Party. By the way, what does that even mean? Like, these are just good, hardworking people. Like, we're not steering the ship, or are we steering the ship? Ooh, who knows? We don't know. But that's the big threat to them, is that all of a sudden a bunch of patriots are getting inside the party, and so we can't have it. So, yeah, hey, thanks for the Rumble rants, Razzle Dazzle. And who was the other one?
Tucker.
Tucker, thank you guys very much. And that was pretty funny. $5. Actually, it's not funny. Damn Minnesota Department of Revenue taking $5 from you guys. All right. What else you got on Alex Jones? Because I did find this, and I can't wait to finish it. I just don't have a lot of time these days, but I can't wait to finish. The one thing that was fascinating about Jones talking, and I'll just take him for his word that he truly believes in God, because he got kind of like spiritual and personal here. Because obviously, I think a lot of people understand the story. The guy's basically been sued for a couple $1 billion. Essentially, they way past what his wealth is worth on pretty ridiculous charges too, by the way. And so he, I think they were asking him like, how do you get through it? He's like, well, because I care about my family. I go home, I got my kids. That's what matters to me, right? We go swim in the pool, hang out as a family. And that's kind of the way I look at it is I got all these battles, all these political battles. And it's not a job many people want, right? Let's just be honest. And I get home, and I got beauty. I got great things. Great wife, great children. I got great friends, great family, wonderful hobbies. It's that serenity point. And I think a lot of you guys that get mixed up in these political battles just remember the good stuff in life. But Alex is in talking about how, and this was fascinating, it's got to blow his enemies' minds, like just blow them apart. But he's like, I hope my enemies, and I love them, that they find Christ because there's darkness and there's evil in this world. And we, the patriots, we're on the good side of things. And I think goodness prevails in the end. I do. I really am optimistic like that. It's going to be a tough journey. I remember one person once asked, because I was criticizing a politician on a Facebook thread, and she writes, Jake, you act like this thing is so easy. If it's so easy, why don't you go up there and do it? Why don't you run for office? It's like, when did I ever say this is easy? Doing the right thing is not always easy. Growing in life is not always easy. I never said this is easy. Sometimes doing the right thing is very hard to do. It's actually why we fall to sin so often. We give in to those temptations, right? It's not easy to do the right thing. But in the end, doing the right thing is the better course for life. It's like Jordan Peterson talks about, I think this is one of the rules in his book, like always tell the truth, which I guess would motivate us to call this show The Truth Hurts. Always tell the truth. And I think a lot of our culture and a lot of Hollywood stories or things that are coming out like Breaking Bad, I think that's the whole point of Breaking Bad is one simple lie, if I can call it simple, but a lie, like I'm doing this for my family. I got cancer. Looks like it's terminal. I'm doing it for my family. Because if, spoiler alert, that's not why he did it in the end, right? So one little lie can manifest itself into something very bad. Very bad. And so tell the truth. That's a better course to go. So I truly do believe down the road we will prevail. We will do good things.
Yep, and let's see. We got another Rumble rant from Napkinator. Appreciate the show. Keep grinding.
Oh, thank you, Napkinator.
Yep, and we got a couple other comments here too.
Sure.
Crypto Keeper says World Trade Center was bombed in 1993 as well. That's
and that's what
true.
Alex is obviously referencing. So
Yeah.
that was a terrorist bombing 93, Oklahoma 95, 96, 95. There was a USS Cole in 96, but that was on foreign territory. Of course, 95, the Oklahoma City bombing was internal, but it'd be categorized because Timothy McVeigh obviously had a political agenda, right? I think if I remember this right, I was younger in the 90s, obviously, but it was part of the fact of how they handled Waco and maybe Ruby Ridge. I'm pretty certain it was at least Waco. That's another thing. Can you imagine a Waco happening today, like us and how we would talk about that? Like,
oh, yeah.
Waco was huge. Just a gross abuse of the government. And,
Oh, yeah.
And so was Ruby Ridge in many regards, too. Go ahead, sorry.
Let's see here. Bad Hat Harry says people believe Nostradamus could see the future too. I don't know who that is really. I did Google it, and it says it's a French astrologer. So I'll do some looking into that one.
All
Bad
right,
Hat
so
Harry.
homework for Vega Jesse.
Yeah.
Look up Nostradamus.
Yep, and Tucker says, how do they even have jurisdiction over your organization? Last I checked, nobody there is campaigning. which is true. Obviously, they have nothing, they don't have any real authority over us.
Well,
so
that's a great point. So, like, if they can allege that's happening, then they just assume jurisdiction. So that's the thing that's so atrocious. In fact, there's 2 current complaints against us. So it's like, and the second one's even more ridiculous. Well, I don't know. I go back and forth. They're both really ridiculous, but the second one is like complete lie. Just a complete lie.
Yep.
And which we easily refuted both of them. Because essentially, you got a government agency that reaches out to you. You tell your lawyer, hey, just tell them this. This is, and both times it should have been gone away. Like, nope, that clearly makes sense. In fact, in the first case, in the case that I'm referring to that gets the attorney general on us, the staff attorney for the campaign finance board, right? This is their job, is to make a recommendation to the board. He said, there's not probable cause that violations occurred. We shouldn't investigate this. He said that to them. And they go, nope, we're going to investigate them because what are they? They're political hacks appointed by Governor Walz.
Yep.
And then when that happened, we're like, oh, why the heck are we going to deal with talk to these guys at all? Like, they just clearly showed their true colors, right? So hopefully we got an impartial court. At least there's a chance there's an impartial judge that looks at this and go, what are you guys doing here? You can't just go after an organization. That's an infringement on their rights. You can't do that. Infringement on their privacy.
Yep.
So, and of course, who knows? Like, we saw what happened in the courts in Minnesota during COVID. So who knows? But it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not going to stop fighting for you guys because this is what they want. They want to hurt us and they want us to go away. Let's be honest. A person that was marginally attached to politics, imagine you were doing this part-time and they did this to you. Like, you'd be like, oh, screw this. This is just too much. I can't take this anymore. I'm done. I'm done with politics. This happens all the time. That's what they hope. Yeah, we'll just go away. Fortunately, they don't know how much this emboldens us. It's actually kind of like gives us energy. Because then it's like, to us, it's a black and white thing. There's a strict line here. We see this line, good versus bad. The patriots versus the corrupt institutions.
Yep.
The political establishment versus the grassroots.
Yep.
There you go. It's very easy.
Right. Yep. So Tucker says nobody there is campaigning unless MAGA Jesse is planning on making an announcement soon. Haha. Well, I'll tell you what. I am old enough now. I am 25. I can run for U.S. Congress. Betty McCollum, she better watch out. But I don't know about that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll look at all these political offices. Maybe I'll keep my mind open to things. But as of now, I'm not running for anything. I'm not campaigning for anything. Let's see here.
Jesse, if you're a transgender, though, the media will be all giddy about that. That's an article we published. Go to actionforliberty.com.
Yep.
The first U.S. trans Congress person's probably going to be out of Delaware.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
Biden's home state. And, that's an interesting...
Pull up actionforliberty.com right now. Or actually, I got that in the show. I thought we might end up talking about it. Read this comment, and then I'm going to go back to this article.
Yeah, well, we got another Rumble rant from K-Wall for Life.
Thank you.
Ellison is a woman beater, which, a lot of people forget about that, but that's something that we need to constantly bring up.
Well, an alleged women beater, okay? And honestly, we looked into that story in 2018, and I don't know if I trust the source. But what's fascinating about that, okay? Because I want to be impartial here. We're kind of, we're media, right? So I got to be a little bit impartial here. The source did not seem to be very compelling to me. But why I don't really care in the end, and fair point, K-Wall, fair point, because it's Keith Ellison and his type of people that said, trust all women. They're all right. We must trust. #MeToo, trust all women. So screw you. You say trust all women. Maybe she's lying. But you said trust all women, Keith Ellison. They all thought that with Brett Kavanaugh. I love Trump when he was mocking that. Was it Brett that was the person? Yeah, it was definitely Brett. Well, where were you? Oh, I don't remember.
What day was it?
What day was it? Oh, I can't remember the day.
Where was it? Yeah, every
Trump
little detail except it was Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, Trump is mocking a sexual assault victim. Oh,
yeah,
bullshit.
And,
it's
not even
lying
like
about that.
Right, and it's not even like Brett Kavanaugh was like this perfect candidate. I had all kinds of policy and judicial problems with him, but that doesn't mean that I was going to sit there and believe he was a rapist just because I didn't think he was strong enough on the Constitution. Especially the Fourth Amendment.
By the way, thanks K-Wall for the Rumble rant. That's appreciated. Boy, we just had to, I guess, spark the energy to get these Rumble rants going. That's like, I can't tell you what kind of motivation that gives us. Like the fact you guys do that, and I encourage more of you guys to do it. Like when we talk about this after the show, we're like, like they're people are donating to us live. Like how awesome is that? How great is this show that we get that support and that love, especially when it comes to stuff like this. So just imagine what we have to face. We got to face this crap from the courts and from a weaponized government agency. Pull up actionforliberty.com. At home, we're going to get this article up. This is, let me put up my screen too.
Is it the one we have on the sheet?
Oh, yeah, it's the one on the sheet. This is the woke media giddy about potential first transgender U.S. congressman. Now, I'm not so careful, right? Some would call her oh, God, I just did it. William, I just did it. Some would call him a congresswoman. I will not do that because that is a dude. Although I must admit, not as dude-looking as some of them. Certainly Chris Finke. But the woke corporate media is all giddy today as Delaware transgender state senator announced his bid for U.S. Congress in a reliably safe Democrat district following an announcement from current U.S. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester that she will be running for the U.S. Senate. Now, there's just one congressperson from Delaware. It's an at-large Congress seat. Many of us from states like Minnesota with populations, we're used to like 8 Congress people and 2 U.S. senators because every state gets 2 U.S. senators. But there are a lot of states, South Dakota, Delaware, certainly the Northeast, where the populations aren't big, so they only get 1 congressperson, okay? So actually a congressperson in that state has more influence, or I shouldn't say more influence, but is technically at the same representation level as the senators.
And what's really interesting about this whole situation, this is Delaware, this is Biden's home state, so, who is going to be fulfilling the Biden legacy? And it looks like it's going to be the transgenders. And what's so interesting, Tom Carper, who you said is resigning, he's a current sitting U.S. senator. He's been around forever. He's actually been there longer than Joe Biden because, Joe Biden recruited him to run for office. So, this guy, I think he's 80-something, 90-something. So it's no surprise that Tom Carper is going to go away. And
I didn't mention Tom Carper. So what he's saying is the U.S. senator's retiring.
Right.
The current rep is moving up to the Senate. That's how it works.
Right.
Remember, it's the political establishment. Their whole job is to get elected and then reelected or seek higher office.
Right. And Lisa Blunt Rochester, she is the current U.S. Congresswoman who is going to become the next senator from Delaware. There's almost nothing you can do about it.
Assuming she wins the primary.
Right.
Does she go by she, by the way? Who knows?
But and I did hear that like either the current governor of Delaware or the former governor, who's a little bit more of a moderate Democrat, is considering running for one of these seats, the U.S. Senate or maybe the U.S. House. And what I'm seeing in the comments section on social media about this information, about this news, is all of the Democrats are just lining up to support this transgender just for the fact that they're a transgender. They don't care about the policy.
Right.
They don't care about anything except the identity. And that's not a good way for us to be going. You should be it seems to me that so many of these Democrat voters are lazy. And I mean, I know that conservatives can be the same way too sometimes. Sometimes conservatives will say, oh, look, there's a black Republican. They must be, exactly perfectly aligned with me, when really you can't just go off of identity. You have to look into the nitty-gritty on the issues. You have to make sure that they align with your principles. You have to make sure there's nothing sketchy in their past or anything that would make you think that they're not going to support and stand up for our freedom.
You are just so on fire today. That is another very fantastic point. It is. It really is. I think William brings you down. And I say that with confidence. It's not fair. I shouldn't rip on these people when they're not here. Yeah, there you go. William not here today.
By the way, I have a good point count going right now. I have a tally over here.
Shit.
Yeah.
I've been doing
Do you
that
want to
a
take
lot.
a guess at how many times you said it?
No, I don't know. A good square 10.
Are
probably.
we on double digits?
You're at 14 right now.
14. Did you count fantastic point?
No.
Yeah, like a little gray area.
Uh-huh.
Several state legislators have men dressing as women in their chambers, but so far, no transgender candidate has reached the U.S. Capitol. Delaware State Senator, of course, as Jesse puts it, one has aspired to the White House. Right?
Wait, what's that?
There has been one transgender in the White House, according to you. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's what some people say about Big Mike. But, yeah, you never know. It's interesting.
There's no pregnant pictures of Michelle Obama ever.
Yeah.
Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride hopes to be the first, and he will have plenty. See how careful I am not to misgender Sarah? Okay. And, in fact, I couldn't find, before I published this article, what Sarah's name was before that, because, gender is a social construct, but we always change our name to a more feminine name, right? Mm-hmm. And he will have plenty of support from the leftist infrastructure because McBride has worked through the Democrat ranks over the years including helping Joe Biden's son get elected attorney general in Delaware more than a decade ago. And that's his late son, the one that died from, was it like a cancer or something like that?
Yeah.
Not from Iraq, by the way. He died after that.
Yeah,
from
Biden
cancer.
says he died in Iraq.
Right. Not
Right.
true. Just another lie. And working in the Obama-Biden White House in 2015. So I did it. He's connected to the Biden-Obama infrastructure. Already, McBride's former employer is cheerfully endorsing the campaign, which was the Human Rights Council, whatever they are called. What is that? Campaign? Human Rights Campaign? You know, you see those equal signs. Go back to the article here, Dawson. So there's the, hey, change maker. Scroll down a little bit. It's the blue. There they are proudly endorsing Sarah McBride. And by the way, not because of issues.
But, you know, this is such a crucial seat. This is such a crucial election that, like, you know, I know these Democrats usually just whoever they want will, you know, be the candidate and they all just fall in line. But I got to imagine there's someone in Delaware that's going to put up a fight. There's going to be someone because the Democratic primary, that's the general election in Delaware. Whoever wins the primary is going to be the candidate, is going to be the congressman. So right. I got to imagine that there is someone within the Democratic Party in Delaware that's, you know, pumping the brakes and saying, hold on a second, maybe we need someone else to run.
Yeah, but you know how it goes. I mean, it's like Bernie's a threat to the Bidens, and they all coalesce behind the Bidens, and Bernie was a threat to Hillary, and they coalesce behind Hillary.
Yeah.
Taxpayer-funded NPR rights. I almost put state-sponsored media. I should have wrote it that way.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing about writing articles. You can write whatever the hell you want. Because we don't pretend to be, like, fair and balanced, you know. We'll put our editorial discretion in. Taxpayer-funded NPR writes, in historic bid, transgender Delaware state senator launches congressional campaign. They have the same, like, mind frame as Karine Jean-Pierre. This is an historic campaign. I'm an historic figure, right? That's how they're going to put it. The AP proudly boasts, if this Delaware senator wins a U.S. House, she'll be the first trans member of Congress. They're so giddy about it. So it was a 12.5% margin that Lisa Blunt Rochester won in 2022, which is the closest it's been in a while. It's usually about a 15 to 25 point margin of victory in Delaware. So roughly,
it's been a long time since they've had a Republican, and when they did have a Republican, he was just a complete liberal. I think the guy even voted for Obamacare, so they haven't had a real Republican in a very, very long time.
Right. When they might not have a real woman here pretty soon, too.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Ooh, love that transition.
Yeah.
Oh, transition. So I'm making myself laugh so much today, aren't I, Dawson? He's just probably rolling his eyes. Can't stand it. It's probably doing a telly on that, too.
If you're enjoying your own show, it's got to be good, right?
Well, I guess so. Apparently, the people with Rumble Rants are also enjoying it, so screw you. Obviously, we still got an audience, so stop the hate, Dawson.
We do have some more comments here,
let's read
too.
the
So
comments.
Carlin Ellison says they're trying to scare you and make you spend money. Thanks for standing strong. Razzles Dazzle says...
well, I got to, obviously we have to spend money, right? Now we have to, because it's not like lawyers are just free. So, right? And then, I mean, it doesn't take up a huge amount of my day, but it takes up some part of the day. So, yeah, I mean, fair point. They're going to make a impact, right? But we're not going to let them make a huge impact.
Yep. Razzles Dazzle says, Jesse started at the city council level to represent. Still would have the time for your daytime job with Jake and William. So, yeah, maybe I'll give some looks into local government, too. We'll see. Tucker says, what state is it that just had the first trans in Congress being arrested for distributing child porn?
That was
New Hampshire.
Yeah, we posted on Twitter. Yep. And once again, we posted, is anyone surprised here? And then we got a bunch of troll lefties like,
right.
Oh, what are you trying to say? What about the Catholic priest? It's like, what does that have to do with this thing? The whole point of what we're trying to say is this strange grooming of children and the over-sexualization with children.
Well, New
Hampshire's... Is anyone shocked by that?
Right, New Hampshire's one of those states, too. I think that they have a representative for, like, every 1,000 people or something ridiculous like that. So just about anybody can become a state representative in New Hampshire. So it's not that noteworthy of a position. I just lost all the
but it's happened
comments.
in Minnesota. There's one in Montana.
Right.
I don't even know how many transgenders there. Well, there's obviously one in Delaware, so there's 4 right there.
And let's
By the way,
see
did you see that video of like them marching in New York City Pride. We're here. We're queer. We're coming for your children. Have you seen that video?
Oh yeah, yep. No,
Crazy.
it's pretty nuts, and yeah, they're admitting it, and I think that obviously they're doing that to try to be provocative. They're trying to get people like us upset. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying that. But yeah, it's also for it's the fact that they are coming for the kids too.
Yeah, but
so
and that just tells you like how terrible these people are. It's like you're mocking something that's actually quite scary. Like, don't even mock about it. Distance yourself from it. That's why I like at least appreciate the group Gays Against Groomers. It's like distance yourself from this whole nonsense.
Base Minnesota says, shouldn't we be glad that these people aren't procreating? And that's right. That's the silver lining in this whole thing. Jobo He says, even if the Delaware politician had everything cut off, he still has that troublesome Y chromosome.
That pesky Y chromosome.
Let's see. Oh, I'm not reading that one.
Why?
It's violent. Tucker, calm down. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. Let's see. Base Minnesota, or no. K-Wall for life. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Trans women are real women. Exactly. Everything is opposite. So, yeah, a bunch of other little comments in there, but yeah.
I'm trying to find what you were saying.
It was.
He said,
pretty light
in a
for being
serious
violent.
society, these people would be thrown off of a roof.
No. Okay. No, you didn't have to read it. Yeah, I don't know. I obviously don't. I don't condone violence against these people.
Yeah,
But,
I don't support throwing people off of roofs.
Yeah,
But
but
that's not my
mean,
thing.
honestly. And I also don't.
I'll give Tucker that job in our society.
I don't condone. He's just saying like what they do in other countries. Yeah, and in other countries they do this. They
Yeah,
stone
oh, yeah,
gay
for
people,
sure.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely what goes on in a lot of other
Yeah.
countries, especially in the Middle East and everything. So, yeah. And
Did you see what they're doing, trying to come after Roseanne Barr now? Did you see this? I was going to tell you that this morning.
I
but
don't know if I've seen that. I've been seeing more things
she
on
was
Roseanne.
making
But
a awkward joke about Jewish people, which she
she's
is
Jewish.
100% Jewish. Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
she's Jewish.
saying that no one died in the Holocaust. It's all fake, but 6 million Jews should die now.
oh,
Now, I was on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and he quickly
I haven't
laughs.
watched that yet, but I've been.
Yeah, he
it's on my
quickly
watch
kinda laughs
later.
it off,
so.
and then she goes on to talk about, like
And that's a comedy podcast, which means they're joking on there.
it's a sad there's no way she meant it, but the media now, and I just saw obscure media, but it made on Drudge, which Drudge now and more wants to like virtue signal the left, but it was like they're trying to make a big deal about this thing. It's like, we
Interesting.
got to cancel Roseanne Moore.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Cancel her again. Yeah, no, I just saw she has her own podcast too. She just had James O'Keefe on. So that's
No
also
kidding.
on my watch later. Check that out. So
Yeah, I wish I had more time. Let's do one last article. Pull up the one on college enrollment. This came across our table today, and this was fascinating. I knew that college enrollment was going down. I'm sure you guys know this too. I didn't realize how much it was going down. So between 2010 in Minnesota and the university system, and this is the data, and I think this is the Department of Higher Education. You can see this curve. Around 2010, they hit the highest amount of students, which was in 309,000 students in the university system. I'm looking at that top line. The bottom green and blue are different things. So college students, 309,000 in 2010. And here we are a little bit more than a decade later. That's been a precipitous decline. We're at 208,000. It's like dropped by a third. College enrollment. Isn't that crazy?
mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting that the Democrats just passed a ton of money for the college education system with RINO votes, by the way. Don't think this is just a Democrat thing. The RINOs also support higher education, which turns out to be just one massive scam. And I was saying it to you guys this morning, I'm like, when they see this drop, which is basically their consumers have dropped by a third in 12 years, how many of these pointless staff and administrative positions have been cut? Any? Has there been one? Have they made any cuts at all?
Yeah, doubt it.
Right?
I mean, we don't know. They might.
Dawson, like your generation, obviously you're the newest, the most recent grad here. Like when you graduated from high school, was it a certainty that people were going to college? Because back when I went, it just seemed like most people were going to college.
I'm a little bit of an outlier because I had a graduating class of like 50, and I think that most of them went to NDSU. I would say that probably 40 of them went to NDSU. 9 went to UND, and then 1, me, went to University of Minnesota Twin Cities. 1 went to Juilliard but dropped out like immediately. But most of those people ended up dropping out at some point. So.
And what do you think is the cause of them dropping out? Like, just think that it's a scam? Like, I'd like to get in the heads of the college students today because, you know, it's been 20 years since I went to college. And it's just like, I thought it was kind of a joke when I went to college. I was kind of wondering, should I graduate? But, you know, to be a commissioned officer in the Army, you had to have a college degree. So I was like, I got to finish up school.
With the other people, most of the people that I knew were going to college for something in farming agriculture.
Yeah.
At NDSU, which is a big deal. I don't think that most of those people dropped out. I think that the people that dropped out were the ones that were like the musical kids or the robotics kids or like some of the math people who got to college and then realized, oh, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to drop out instead of finding a different major.
Mm-hmm.
I initially went in wanting to learn poli-sci, interestingly enough, to
Did you know that? I did not know that about Dawson.
You didn't know that?
That's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, so I initially went into college thinking that I was going to graduate and then become an officer in the military and then join the CIA. That was my dream. I know, I know, but I ended up
You would
not
have
doing
been playing
that.
for the other team.
I know.
You would have been completely against us.
I ended up not doing that because I sat down and I said, I want to have a family someday, and so I don't want to put anybody in danger. So I ended up doing video
Did you want to
editing.
like fly drones though, because you're so good at your video games?
No, what I wanted to be a spy. I wanted to be like Tom Clancy's
No, I'm saying when you were in the
Splinter
military,
Cell.
did you want to fly drones?
No.
What did you want to do in the military?
I wanted to. I mean, in the CIA, I'd be an agent. In the military, I wanted to be an officer. I don't really.
Well, oh, hold on. What does that mean? An officer? You just want to be an officer, so you ate at a different table? Like, what does that mean? I was an infantry officer. It means I basically want to shoot firearms, lead soldiers in battle. If you want to be an armor officer, you want to drive tanks. If you want to
I see.
be a surgeon, you'd be a surgeon, right?
No,
What did you mean by
I probably
army?
would have.
What's that?
I probably would have done something in advertising if I think about it, like marketing.
I don't think there is a position like that in the
Is there
military.
not? I never studied it.
Yeah, I
'cause
would have
ended
been.
up-
I think that's pretty much handled like marketing firms that contract with the government.
I ended up not doing that anyways, but the end goal was to be a literal spy, like from a movie or a book, was like the goal. But
And that's why we call him Deep State Dawson, because did he really not pursue that? We don't know.
That's a good question.
I mean,
I'm
this is-
pretty good
this
at
is, like,
video editing,
perfect.
so
Just
maybe
just go right in. You know,
maybe-
he's just reporting right back to Keith Ellison. Look what these guys are up to.
or maybe
Let
I
me
ended
tell you
up,
about it.
or
Yeah.
Occam's Razor, I just did video editing instead, and now I have a job editing videos.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the two.
He does his daily dump with Keith Ellison, and they're like, all right, tell us more about that Action for Liberty. He's like, well, let's see. Jake had Chipotle today for lunch.
I didn't know that Keith Ellison was black until I looked him up for the thumbnail.
Well, I
the
don't
other
see
day.
color, so I have no idea.
Okay.
Mhm.
We posted a we posted a meme on our Twitter account, and it's that infamous. What is that? Isn't that Predator? I think it's from Predator with a infamous, joining hands. So it'd be Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Boy, I should turn in my 80s credit card or 80s card here if I can't get this. Brad will probably know this. But the infamous one where they're joining hands. And so it's a black guy and a white guy. I'm pretty sure this is from Predator, so Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, I want to put Keith Ellison, RINO Establishment. And I was like, it'd be kind of funnier if I just put RINO Establishment on the black guy. But we know they're not in there. So I kept it based on the same race.
Based on
And then I was like, oh man, this is total fake news, because we don't want people actually believing that there's anyone in the RINO Establishment with impressive arms like that, right? You know, because they usually have like little baby muscles, like this Mike Campbell guy with the Senate Victory Fund. So these guys aren't tough guys. So yeah. So anyway, post an updated picture.
Based MN says Dawson's testosterone level seems a little low today. Is he cutting back on the workouts?
Good question.
No,
Good question.
today is
gotta answer that.
Today is arm day, and I'm saving up a lot of pent up stress and rage to go in and just demolish the gym today. So I'm saving the testosterone for now.
Don't you love how the fan base is really interested in your workouts?
Honestly, it kind of makes me really happy because I've been progressing a lot, and it feels really good to notice people notice.
Well, maybe you could take them on a trip to Vegas, and you can talk their ear off about your diet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tucker says he saw through the college scam in junior high, and he said he didn't even want to finish high school, just wanted to work, and he got his GED 2 years before his classmates graduated. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you decided to take life into your own hands and do what you want, which obviously everybody has the right to do. Let's see. Jobo, he says, when was enrollment last at this level? I would imagine, when did the graphic start from? 2010?
Go back to that graphic, because I think even in this time frame, it was always elevated. You'd probably got to go back to...
Yeah.
What's it say on there?
2003 is the very first one?
Yeah, maybe the 90s or 80s.
Oh, I don't know what I did. That looks the same.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, probably at least 20 years.
Yep. Let's see. K-Wall for life. Colleges don't prepare most for a job anymore. They are indoctrination centers, so the left can prop them up with our money. Bad Hat Harry, public relations.
With
Relish says legendary Lee Kennedy, but I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Tucker wanted to join the Army at 17, but got rejected. Marines wouldn't even talk to him.
Makes me think maybe color blindness.
Yep.
Color blindness or asthma, maybe.
And let's see. K-Wall for life. No way our kid is joining this military. I think it's, it's a tough one because obviously we have to stay strong as a country, but, it's like under the command of the deep state, under the command of Joe Biden, especially with all the vaccines and stuff they force people to get, it's, it's a tough one. And people don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to save that for Twitter Spaces. So what I want you guys to do, let's put up our Twitter handle again, action_liberty. We're going to start this at 2:30. I think William's running from afar. We'll get to the rest of the comments. You want to just take a screenshot of that, Jesse, so we don't lose the comments. So just rest your comments. Come over to our Twitter Spaces. It's open to everyone. You can click on there so you can actually speak. It's the easy way for you to actually speak. And usually Brad Ganser likes talking on it, but a lot of you don't. So just make sure you unmute and let's join the conversation. So we're going to do that. Go to our Twitter. We'll be back on Thursday with our last episode before the 4th of July. I think we might try to get a 4th of July episode. I haven't talked to you guys about that.
I won't be.
No, it won't be live. But I'd like
I probably still don't think I can do that.
No, we'll have one.
Pre-record it like tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can do something. But
boy, he was like so negative.
Well,
there.
I mean, I'm not cutting into my 4th of July for you guys. No offense.
Ooh,
that hurt.
I would.
That's nice. The 4th of July is my holiday. That's my holiday.
Me too. And they don't expect us to be here, but don't insult them like that.
No, I was
today, Jesse.
I was insulting you and Dawson.
I know where you're coming from. No, I meant pre-recording, so we can still release on Tuesday.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a good idea.
See how I said good idea and not good point?
So I can say good idea?
Yeah.
God, this is all insider baseball.
That's not 23. That you have 23 on the tally right now.
Well, that's a good point. Anyhow, we'll be back on Thursday with another episode of Truth Hurts. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.